in this matchup. One of the things that the Deathblade player wants to get down a threat before they have to start playing defense.
Well, Eric's sideboard is kind of interesting. He's got 4 copies of Dark Confidant, so it allows him to kind of generate a little card advantage if he's trying to power through a lot of hate cards. So Dark Confidant, definitely an interesting sideboard card. He also has 1 copy of Defense Grid, which is good against like counterspell heavy decks.
We'll need to see what he's playing against. Lee's deck is Lee's hand was a hand with a lot of options, but not many cards in it. It was a 1-lander, a triple Brainstorm, Rest in Peace, Stoneforge Mystic, and Jace.
And he knows he's playing against Anne, so he doesn't have to worry about Wasteland. So
right. This is a pretty aggressive hand, though. He could certainly get Brainstorm locked. It seems like he needs a little bit of help to really make the deck work.
Well, Rest in Peace is really huge against a deck like this.
Right.
Because it kind of relies on Past and Flames at times. So, and it also, Cabal Ritual turns off Cabal Ritual from every gaining threshold. So,
this hand is resting.
It's not bad.
Yeah, this hand is certainly putting a lot of value in Rest in Peace.
Yeah, if he gets the 2 mana, I think he's fine. And again, with triple Brainstorm, there's the potential that you'll get Brainstorm locked, but I think the odds are probably in your favor a little bit. So,
the question is whether or not the Rest in Peace will get duressed, I suppose.
Yeah.
Or Thoughtseize. We'll see.
He does have Thoughtseize. He has Duress and Cabal Therapy.
It might be that Eric's going for a turn 1 here. We'll see. All right, this is.
Well, the coast is
think
clear.
He is. The coast is clear. All right. So.
Is that a Dark Ritual?
That certainly seems like he's going for it. So turn 1, this is spell number 3. Dark Ritual adds 3 black to his mana. At some point, Lee can try to Brainstorm for a Force of Will.
Oh, wow. So he does have, he looks like he has double Cabal Ritual and Ad Nauseam. So that is 4 mana right now.
Cabal Ritual goes up to 4. Another Cabal Ritual moves up to 5 mana.
And looks like he has a Defense Grid as well.
He had Defense Grid. No time to play such cards, though. He's going straight for the win, and now Lee really just has his one answer. Can he?
Yeah.
Can he find a Force of Will?
Yeah, he's got to find a Tundra or Underground Sea and cast Brainstorm and hope to find a Force of Will in the top 3 cards of his library. So this is exactly the position that you want to be in when you're Ant. You want to hope your opponent you could just brick on a Force of Will.
Sometimes you can force your opponent's draws to be very binary when you're playing a deck that's as fast as Ant. All that really matters about Lee's deck is, did you have Force of Will plus blue card? The rest of the things he's playing not very relevant.
And we were talking about it in the last match. Force of Will is basically just an insurance policy for this exact scenario.
No on the first one, no on the second one, no on the third one. That will not hit. And
no, he did hit.
No, he did hit Force of Will. It was the very first one.
So this is going to be backbreaking. Eric basically was all in on this play, which is a reasonable play. He could Taxing Probe, he knew what the situation was, but unfortunately for him, he expended so many resources just to cast that Ad Nauseam.
His whole hand.
And he's got 2 cards left, and neither one of them really are probably going to be able to get him back into this one. Lee was able to find a second land and a Stoneforge Mystic, so Lee's in pretty good shape here. All because of that insurance policy.
Yeah, and I think what happened was that Eric saw the Rest in Peace, and that's what made him go for the turn 1 kill.
Oh, I think it was perfectly reasonable here. I mean, I think I don't know if the odds are in his favor, but it's pretty reasonable that he goes for it there. I mean, he basically just has to make sure that there aren't a Force of Will on the top 3 cards.
Well, he does have the option of casting a turn 1 Defense Grid, and then next turn going for it off the same land with his hand.
Oh, yeah.
Behind Defense Grid. And normally, I would think that would be safe, but after seeing Lee's hand, he opted for the turn 1. In the end, Lee hit the Force of Will, and that should be, the game. He basically brought the game down to one play.
Yeah, but and if he did make the play that you're suggesting, Lee could have still dug for a Force of Will. He would have found it, and then he still ends up just playing Rest in Peace this turn anyway.
He forces the Defense Grid.
Yeah, so he forces the Defense Grid. Eric will still have his hand, but then he has to contend with Rest in Peace. So.
Right, and I think that's why Eric went for it. He said, if he finds the Force of Will, he's probably dead to the Force of Will no matter what. At least this way, if he plays that instead of the Defense Grid, then he wins if the Force of Will is not found.
Exactly, yeah. So Lee has Stoneforge Mystic searching out for Batterskull, and now Eric's just going to cast the Taxing Probe. He does find the Massacre, so he can Massacre now and make sure that Batterskull doesn't come into play next turn.
Yeah, what's going to be difficult for him is that Lee will respond with Rest in Peace, which will all but eliminate Eric's board.
Yeah, so it looks like did Eric pass back to, I think we're on Eric's turn still. Yeah, this is
we
a
are
tough
still
spot
in
for
air
Eric.
single.
He's got the Massacre, he's got the Fence Grid, but really nothing else to go
Well, he
on
lost
here.
all his resources so early. It's difficult because he has to kind of decide what his strategy is. He knows he's going to have to contend with this resting piece. So he's going to have to find a way to bounce the resting piece and then combo, but he's starting with a 0-card hand.
I think that's the frustrating part for when you're an Ant player or Storm player in general. It's that you could have, they need to have the Force of Will. They just need to have it. And a lot of times people don't even play 4 Force of Wills anymore. They kind of skimp on their numbers. They only play 3 because they don't really view the card as a great card. It's basically just an insurance policy. And if they have it, you lose. If they don't, you win. So, you know, that's the perfect scenario right there where Eric, I think, was perfectly justified in going for it there. Unfortunately, Lee was able to find the Force of Will.
So you see there, Eric went for a duress, hoping to get a rest in peace, but last the rest in peace was hidden on top by Brainstorm. Lee's going to redraw it. Wasteland Eric's only land, and then rest in peace is Graveyard, leaving Eric with nothing but a Lotus Petal.
And Deathrite Shaman decides not to attack there, I believe.
Yeah, it stays back. Possibly should have attacked, but at this point, you know, you have your opponent down to 1 permanent.
Yeah. You got your opponent down to 1 permanent. He's got 2 cards in his hand. Lee's got a Snapcaster Mage, which is likely just going to get cast for as a beater. He's got Eric basically on a 3-turn clock or 5-turn clock, I think.
Yep. He has 1 damage from the Deathrite, 2 more from the Snapcaster, and that really should be enough. When you see these decks playing against something as unfair as Ant, their win con ends up being pretty trivial.
Yeah.
It's can they, you know, as long as they have any sort of clock, that's just a creature, it's usually good enough.
So Eric doing his best here. He's casting a lot of spells this turn, despite having only 1 permanent at the beginning of the turn.
Sacks Lotus Petal to Ponder. Didn't see a land in it, so he's going to shuffle. It's possible he will be left with no permanents and no graveyard here.
I think he still has the Defense Grid in his hand, perhaps? I think that's the last card.
He has a Defense Grid in hand. That's it. Does he draw a land? We will find out. Yeah, he did hit it.
Yay!
He's going to not crack it. No need to expose himself to Wasteland.
Oh, brother. This is Liliana. Oh, come on.
This game is getting real close after that turn.
Doesn't even cast it. I like it. Wants to get that Snapcaster in play.
That's probably correct. Upping your clock, I think, is correct. The Liliana will be just as backbreaking the next turn. Yeah, so Eric draws another land. He's going to search out 2 lands from his deck. Remember, his deck does not actually play very many lands that can tap for mana. And by not very many, I mean it has 8.
Yeah, so he should be able to, it looks like he's going to get a basic island and a basic swamp, perhaps. Doesn't want to expose himself to a wasteland, but nope. He's thinking about it. Does he want to expose himself to wasteland, or does he want
he wants
flexibility?
So the ad nauseum in his deck is also gone. So normally I would say he's trying to draw to, say, Dark Ritual into ad nauseum, go to town. But that's gone, so you actually can't do that. Which makes it hard.
So he's going for a Tropical Island and Underground Sea, and he's going to cast a Defense Grid, leaving with no cards in his hand. So in response, Lee likely just going to cast a Snapcaster Mage to get out of his hand.
Yep. Gets Ambush Viper down. It's just a 2-1.
There's the Force of Will. That's pretty much dead now, though. Force of Will did its job for this game.
Yep. Showed up when it needed to.
I think he's okay with discarding it to Liliana DeVille. I would not be surprised if Eric just conceded to Liliana DeVille.
Well, I mean, it's hard for Eric to win from this spot. Without the ad nauseum, it's really, I don't know how it's not evident how he sets up his combo just on 1 card a turn with a way that can race a 4-turn clock.
And with Liliana now, there's literally no way for him to ever gain enough cards in his hand for it to matter. Oh, wow, and Lee didn't even uptick it. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter, right? He doesn't want to, Eric has no cards in his hand.
Discard his Force of Will, and he's going to wasteland 1 of Eric's lands.
Lee's just going for the flawless victory here.
Get that card out of his hand. So Eric down to 2 permanents.
I like that Eric's not conceding. He's a
braver
man than me.
Yeah, I would concede.
I would have conceded so fast. I would have been in the bathroom by now crying. I wouldn't have conceded at Force Will. I would have played it out a little bit more, but Eric Rill falls to Lee Prost, and a timely Force of Will by Lee there on turn 1. Eric, you know, it was a gamble, but I think it was a justified gamble there for him.
Well, certainly the odds were in Eric's favor to make that play. I think